Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar providing an overview of the shared responsibility model. My name is Kevin Hartwig, and I work as the Director of Infrastructure Services at Access Point Consulting. I have worked for the past 20 years in both software engineering and site reliability engineering. I found my passion for the cloud while I led a project to migrate my company's document management system, of which I was the principal software engineer, from an on-premise optical storage solution to a hybrid cloud storage solution. Learning about all of AWS's service offerings and the opportunities to save money and provide a better service to my company got me hooked. Since then, I have worked for multiple companies, helping them to build and manage their cloud infrastructure solutions. At Access Point Consulting, I am helping to build out and manage infrastructure services offering while educating internal and external stakeholders on cloud best practices. For today's webinar, I hope to give you an overview of the shared responsibility model and help you better understand some concepts and considerations you can think about as you embark on your cloud journey. To do that, I will be teaching you the shared responsibility model itself. I'll give you an overview of the three main cloud service models, talk through some of the general cloud responsibilities for both the cloud platform and you as a customer, and finally, I will walk through the cloud responsibility matrix to help you better understand how your responsibilities change depending on which cloud service model you choose. The cloud shared responsibility model is a framework that divides security and operational responsibilities between cloud service providers and their customers. The specific responsibilities can vary on the type of cloud service you are using, but the core principle remains the same. Both parties must work together to maintain a secure cloud environment. This collaboration helps ensure that all aspects in security are adequately addressed, reducing the risks of breaches and enhancing overall cloud security. Outside of just security, the shared responsibility model helps businesses to understand what they need to do to comply with any regulatory or governance requirements. Cloud platforms are great tools, but moving into the cloud without understanding your company's needs and how the provider suggests you build the solution can lead to security and performance and cost issues. So you might be asking yourself, what are the cloud service models and how do they differ? The cloud service models are offerings from cloud service providers which offer varying levels of control, flexibility, and management to their customers. They cater to different types of businesses, and you will likely use a mix of them to support your needs. The three major models we will talk about today are software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. First, we will go over software as a service. This is a model which provides a software product over the internet, usually on a subscription model. The benefits of a SaaS is that it usually is a fully developed product designed to meet the needs of your customers for a specific product area. These services are easily accessible over the internet on a variety of devices. They offer a consistent experience to all customers, but provide only minimal customization options. Most companies will use a variety of SaaS products, some of the more common being Microsoft 365, Salesforce, Dropbox, Zoom, Confluence, and Workday. The major benefit of a SaaS solution is that they are cost-effective due to a company not having to host the service on their own systems. This reduces hardware costs and does not require dedicated support staff. Support is generally tied to your subscription. This means that the SaaS provider will have their own service level agreements, which you can use to determine if the product meets your internal SLA needs, or in the event of an extended outage can be used to claw back some of the subscription cost. The provider also manages all updates for the service, and this can significantly reduce operational costs for your company. A few negatives that you should think about when deciding on a SaaS solution over a self-hosted solution are the potential difficulty of migrating off of the solution. They hold all your data, so thinking about how you're going to export your data when you want to move off is something helpful. Also, they require an internet connection to function. If a user is unable to access the internet, their work may be impacted. The second cloud service model I'd like to discuss is called platform as a service. In this model, clients are provided managed components which support compute, allowing for you to deploy your service to the platform, storage, which allows you to manage your data accessed by your services, database systems, which allow you to store the structured data managed by your service, and lastly, networking to enable communication between your components and externally. Generally, the platform provides pre-configured environments which conform to their best practices, and they provide the tools and instructions for streamlining the deployment process. A platform as a service is a great way for a company to get started in the cloud or rapidly iterate on new projects. Most platform as a service solutions provide automatic scaling of resources, which can help with performance and improve cost effectiveness. Two examples of PaaS providers are Heroku and Aptable, which are independent platforms. These types of services are great for company early in their cloud journeys. They allow for a less knowledgeable engineering team to get a product up and running in a very short time. They tend to run containers just as you would in a more full-featured infrastructure as a service platform, but make it easier to configure and deploy your service. Many times, these services also provide reporting and compliance controls that make it easy for your security and compliance teams to meet any regulatory considerations they might have. AWS Elastic Beanstalk and Azure App Service, which are platforms built into larger infrastructure as a service providers, provide the benefit of allowing you to use a variety of tools within that provider and easily integrate services between them. They're usually a bit more cost effective, but require more time to implement initially due to having you manage larger account configuration controls. Some benefits of a PaaS solution are they allow you to more quickly move a product to the cloud. Their bread and butter is taking a software service and deploying it, usually as a container to their shared infrastructure, then using very common networking and data management solutions to allow your service to function. They typically manage software and hardware updates for the platform. When updates occur, services running in their infrastructure are rolled over to new instances as needed, likely with no downtime to your service. They provide help with understanding best practices for working with their platform, which can reduce the risks of companies newer to the cloud. Some negatives are the migrations away from a PaaS product can often be costly due to vendor lock-in. Platform as a service products tend to cost more than running similarly sized instances on an infrastructure as a service platform or an on-premise solution. Also, some platforms have limitation to instance sizing and storage sizes, which need to be taken into consideration as part of your architecture design process. Lastly, there is the infrastructure as a service model. Some of the major infrastructure as a service providers are AWS, Google Cloud Platform, and Azure. These are very well known, and you've likely heard of them. This model provides virtualized computing resources, allowing businesses to rent compute, storage, and networking. This is the most flexible of the service models. It allows businesses to determine how to best deploy their services and systems to the cloud. Infrastructure as a service platforms provide reduced costs as compared to running and managing physical infrastructure in your own data center. These platforms provide a wide range of computing resources and allow businesses to implement auto-scaling to meet their performance and cost needs, in contrast to platform as a service where auto-scaling might be less configurable. A major benefit of infrastructure as a service as opposed to on-premise data centers is the reduced cost to maintain and secure physical hardware. It provides resources across the world to allow businesses to build out in the most advantageous location for their needs. Infrastructure as a service providers handle the maintenance and updates to physical hardware, reducing downtime and providing safety nets for their customers. While infrastructure as a service is the most flexible, this comes with complexities for how it is managed. A company might need to staff experts in cloud services to support their systems. Relying solely on an infrastructure as a service can lead to a potential downtime if a business is not planned for outages of the provider. While this is very rare, businesses should plan recovery into their business model, such as using multi-region deployments where needed. Next, we will do a quick overview of the basic cloud service responsibilities. One of my favorite quotes, which is used to describe the separations of responsibilities, is, "The cloud provider is responsible for security of the cloud, while the customer is responsible for security in the cloud." What this ultimately boils down to is the cloud provider is generally responsible for the hardware, including upgrades and upgrades to their systems. They are responsible for the software which runs on their hardware used to manage their platform. Again, this includes updates and upgrades and general security of their software. They manage the physical network between networking data centers, and internal networking allow communication between systems and networking hardware. Lastly, they manage the data centers themselves. This includes physical hardware or physical security to the data centers and access and control of their data centers. A customer is generally responsible for the service and data which they deploy to the cloud. This includes encrypting and securing the transfer of data between their systems in the cloud, ideally encrypting all data in flight and at rest. A customer is responsible for security of the devices which they use to access their cloud resources. This includes updates and patching as needed. They are also responsible for managing user accounts and access to their systems. This includes setting reasonable access controls and generally following the least privilege principle. Lastly, customers are responsible for securing the applications they deploy to the platform. The shared responsibility matrix is a really useful way to understand how the platform and your own responsibilities change between the cloud service models from most to least customer responsibility. As you would imagine, infrastructure as a service being the most flexible model also has the most responsibilities for the customer to consider. Generally, more control you have, the more responsibility you need to plan for. This includes complete access controls and identity and access management planning. This model also requires you to manage some networking controls, including access level to your systems running on the platform. This model can require you to manage host infrastructure if you choose to purchase bare metal systems, which more closely mimic an on-premise service solution. Platform as a service generally requires you to manage some control over the application level controls, including who can access your systems, potentially which products and services can deploy to your systems, as well as giving you more control over the identity and access control of your employees. Finally, software as a service allows for the least amount of management by the customer. This includes managed identity and access control, but typically using predefined groups based on common access needs. Usually some SaaS products lock down the client and endpoint protection, only allowing you to access through APIs or other managed interfaces. One model we did not get time to touch on in this presentation is called function as a service. This typically allows you to deploy small and specific applications to a cloud provider. These tend to have restrictions around how long they can run and the size of the code you can deploy. This model closely aligns with the platform as a service option, but the platform limits the scope of the services running in it more strictly. This model is regularly used with more of an infrastructure as a service model where functions can be used to augment larger service offerings such as managing APIs. To recap some of what we talked about and what I hope you learned today. The basic concepts around what the shared responsibility model is itself, why it's important and how it dictates responsibility between providers and their customers, a better understanding of cloud service models, advantages and disadvantages to each, and some of the more common examples of them, what are the general responsibilities of platform and the customer, and a quote to help you remember them. The provider is responsible for security of the cloud, and the customer is responsible for security in the cloud. Finally, a quick overview of the responsibility matrix, how to think about your responsibilities as you consider cloud service model is right for you and your business. Before I let you go, if you enjoyed this webinar and interested in more discussions about topics related to the cloud and managing infrastructure and services in it, please look out for some of our other webinars on these topics. Thank you very much for your time. If you'd like to discuss anything brought up in this webinar today or would just like to get in touch, please reach out to me through the email provided or LinkedIn. Or if you're curious about Access Point Consulting or our offerings, please visit our website at accesspointconsulting.com. Thank you.